Hey there folks, my name is Peter. Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, we are going to do a full service on our Craftsman Zero Turn lawnmower. That includes engine oil, oil filter, spark plugs, fuel filter, and brand new blades. We're also going to get it cleaned up and I'm going to walk you through every step of the process. As always, if you're into tools, EDC, or do-it-yourself projects, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And if at some point during the video you find that I taught you something, be sure to give it a like. Before we can do any of this, we have to get the engine warmed up so that the oil drains smoothly. I'm going to do that now and then I'll bring you all back inside when we're ready to get going. So we'll let the oil drain. It's draining pretty slow. I'm going to lift up the front. If I had a jack, that would be nicer, but I don't. That's a little heavier than I remember, so I'm going to let it drain nice and slow. I don't think I did an oil change on this last year, so it's definitely needed. While that's draining, let me show you the air filter. So I have a YouTube short where I replaced the air filter that I can link in case you're curious, but the air filter is in this little compartment here. I changed mine last year, so I don't think I have to do it again this year. So that looks pretty clean. We can peel back this element. I don't see too much in between the fins there, so we're going to leave that alone. But if you had to replace it, it's as simple as pulling it out and then you stick the new one in. But like I said, I'll link that YouTube short if you want to check it out. All right, now that we're done draining, let's go ahead and get our plug back in there. Tighten it down, quarter turn with our socket. Now the oil filter isn't the easiest to get to. You can see it's the yellow rather right there. I don't have like an oil filter or like a socket for it. So we're just gonna try to get it out of there with our oil filter wrench and not break it too badly. Luckily for me, because I'm the one who put this on last time, and remember, you're only supposed to put these on hand tight. This was in fact hand tight, and that means it is coming off quite easily. Fortunately, our flexible filter isn't having the effect that I had hoped that it would. So when we're swapping parts, we always want to make sure that the new part is the same as the old one. So the old one is 695-396, and the new one is also 695-396. And you just want to get a little bit of the old oil on your finger and coat this O-ring. That's good. Before we install the new one, we're going to wash this thing after, but obviously I don't want oil getting all over the garage in the meantime, so. Let's fill the rest of it with oil. So for oil today, we're going to be using the Briggs Stratton SAE 5W30 full synthetic, full cycle small engine oil. I was able to pick this up on Amazon. I'm sure you can get it at most local stores, but I will have a link if you need it. And in total, we're going to need 1.8 to 1.9 liters. Each of these is 0.946 liters. Actually, we need 62 to 64 ounces. Make the math a little easier. Each of these is 32 ounces. So we'll go in with a full one, and then we'll throw this in down to maybe 4 ounces remaining. We'll run it, let it circulate throughout the system, and then we can check our dipstick. Going in with the second bottle. And again, we don't want to overfill it. 64 is like right at the top. So we'll fill it up to around 60 and then we'll see where we're at. So there's 2 spark plugs on the machine, one on either side. And we're going to take this boot off. And for the first time, we're making use of our new Astro Tools swiveling magnetic spark plug socket. Obviously, these are pretty easy to get to. In a car, they'd be a lot more difficult, but let's give it a try. How about that magnet, huh? Right on there. As far as the plug itself, these actually don't look that bad. They are a tad crispy, and I have new ones. I don't think I've ever changed them, so I'm gonna put the new ones in anyway. So the last thing we will replace before we swap out the blades and get everything clean is the fuel filter. So this is an OEM part 691035. Of course, it looks a little, if I can focus that, looks a little bit different than the one that's in there now, but again, I have the manual pulled up, everything is the same. Now on these fuel filters, they have an arrow. In this case, the arrow is pointing away from the fuel tank. So we will just make sure that when we swap this out, we're gonna replace it and the arrow is gonna point in the same direction. It's got clips on either side, so we should be able to just use our flank jaw pliers and get it off. There we go. I do have to come clean with the audience because I don't wanna lie to you all. I had my oil drain pan underneath where the oil spout was. I set the fuel filter down on top of the motor. It fell into the oil. Thankfully, I had 2 of them because we can't use that one anymore. But let this be a lesson. Don't leave the oil in a place where it can ruin components. So before we drop the deck, now that we're done servicing the engine itself, I just want to get it started, make sure there's no leaks, make sure everything is good, and then we'll start swapping the blades. Grab our trusty 10 mil, 13 mil, 1/4 inch ratchet. Technically speaking, you don't have to take these covers off, but because we're going to clean it, I like to take them off. So it turns out this is actually a 3/8, not a 10 mil. Pretty close, but I'm using our box end wrench to get us the rest of the way home. One thing I want to be sure to mention, as soon as we start dealing with the deck and the blades and anything that can take off a limb, take the key out of the ignition, disconnect your spark plug boots. We do not want this thing even thinking about starting while we're working on it. So we just released the tension from the belt. Obviously to hook it up, we're going to push this back and wind it over there. But the belt goes all the way back to the engine, and in order to get it off we have to release the tension. At this point the whole deck is being held on by 3 cotter pins, or 3 bolts rather, with cotter pins through them. So you got one there, you've got one in the front, and then one on the other side. Once we take those 3 apart, the whole thing will just fall right out. Alright, now that all of our cotter pins are gone, once we take these other 3 bolts out, the whole thing is just going to kind of fall down. I'm going to lift it up a little bit so I can get my hand under here. There's 1. There's 2. There's 3. And now we're just going to take our trusty scraper and get all this loose stuff out of here. So we're done with our cleaning. Let's get the blades back on, get everything put back together, and then this job will be considered complete. Blades get torqued down. It says between 70 and 80 foot-pounds. I never thought that this Tecton torque wrench worked. Turns out it was user error the whole time. I just wasn't pulling hard enough. I'm a fan. All right, folks, that's gonna do it for today's video. We did engine oil, fuel filter, spark plugs. We checked the air filter. We changed the blades. We got everything clean. This thing is ready for another year of grass cutting. I'm super excited about it. Hopefully you learned something. I'm also gonna post a follow-up to this video in which I put away all of the tools that I used. So if you missed something here and you wanna know like, hey, what was that tool you were using? I'm gonna do a follow-up video as I put everything away and get it clean. clean to let you all know what I use. As always, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a great deal. I'll see you on the very next video.